So today we're doing a speed testing day for a small group of our junior athlete program attendees. We'll be testing max velocity. So max velocity, interestingly, in team sports and I guess general sports outside of track sprinting is probably the least used. There's some statistics showing that only around 1 to 3% of the time in a sport environment will you actually be able to get up to your maximum speed. And there's a lot of reasons for that, which we won't worry about right now. But we'll be testing our max speed. It's kind of like if you're playing basketball, seeing if you can hit a half-court shot or hit a six in cricket. It's like the big thing that everyone likes to do, and it's fun. So the focus of the day is doing some testing, but also having fun with the testing. So we'll be seeing how fast everyone can run. Also, as well as the speed side of things, even though the absolute top-end speed isn't often used in sport, sprinting fast and hard in and of itself has a lot of benefits, physiologically, physically, but also mentally, with regard to that level of intent to move quick and try hard. We'll be testing that max velocity over a 10-meter fly. So all that is, everyone's going to have around 10 to 20 meter distance to kind of warm up and work up to their top speed. Hopefully we're going to hit the top speed at the first gate, and then we're going to keep carrying that through, pass through the second gate, so we're running through, not to, and then way beyond. And we'll look at that 10-meter time, and we'll get an approximation of meters per second. The key thing with the max velocity sprinting I'll be going through with the group today, even though it's not a technical session, we'll be going through a couple of key things that can carry over really well. So one thing is maintaining, as much as you can, a vertical position of the shin, so vertical drive into the ground with the foot. Yep. Often when we see people sprinting, they'll overstride. What happens when we overstride is the foot goes way in front of our center of mass, way in front of the body, and then we've got to wait for the hip to kind of catch up and carry through, which means we're on the ground a lot longer than we're in the air, which is not great for max velocity sprinting. So we'll be going through more of a vertical impact into the ground, then also keeping their torso, if you like, on top of their pelvis. So that sounds a bit strange, but often in team sport athletes, especially when we reach that top end speed, we see the knees starting to kick up real high. Yep. And then they're cutting up really tall and they almost start leaning backwards the further they go. So a big key that I use for the athlete program speed aspect is basically stay on top. I even use this with the track athlete, is basically keep your torso on top of your legs so we don't get too caught up with drifting back. So even though it's not a technical session, key things are, we'll be going through with the warm-ups and the drills, is vertical shin drive into the ground, stay on top, not behind. We're also going to be testing the acceleration component. So acceleration is going from a standing start or a static start, whether that's standing, half kneeling, twisting, whatever, from a static start, and then trying to reach your top speed over a period of time. Now, in team sports and actually most sports, acceleration is going to be the key because there simply isn't enough distance that we need to run through in most sports to actually reach your top end speed. So track athletes will often reach their top end speed at around 50 to 60 meters down the track. Part of that is because their top end speed is so high that it just takes a while to get there. And also they're starting from blocks, so their position is also a lot lower. So you've got to have more time, both in terms of distance and actual seconds, to move forward into that upright position, hit that top end speed. With team sport athletes, they're not going to be coming out of blocks, they're going to be standing, maybe twisting, leaning forward, shifted off to one side, whatever it may be. So their body positions are going to be quite different in a sport. So consequently, that's going to reduce the time to top speed. The other thing as well is that most sport athletes, their top speed isn't going to be as fast as a track athlete. So because it's not as fast, we don't need as long, again, in terms of distance or time to get there. So a lot of team sport athletes, especially juniors, will kind of hit maybe a 10 to 15 meter acceleration phase, and then they're already at the top end speed. Maybe that'd be 20, closer to 20, 25. For the faster juniors, the older juniors, people with better running technique, running mechanics, running experience. But yeah, we're going from a static start, so we'll be 30 centimeters from the line. We'll fall in, we'll hit the first gate, and then we'll be doing split times at 10 and then the final at 20. And we're breaking those down, and that will give us some nice information on things we can work with. In terms of technical components for acceleration, again, this is a testing session, more of a fun session, but I will be going through a key element around acceleration, which is really looking at body shape and position. Through those acceleration phases, we want to be having a little bit more of a forward lean. Yep, so shifting forward. The analogy I use here is very, very common analogy it's used is imagine an aeroplane taking off. It's going forward, then the nose lifts, and we're shifting forward that way. So really the focus for what we're going to be looking at initially and getting them to try and test is taking that forward lean and the idea of projecting or pushing themselves down the track or pushing themselves across the court, down the field, whatever it may be. The other thing we'll be looking at there is looking at shin angles. So the shin angles with a team sport acceleration is actually going to be very, very similar to a sprinter coming out the blocks. We're just in a different environment. So what we're looking at here is we'll be doing some falling starts. So from there, basically loading the front of the front foot, falling in, braking from the knee, and looking to get around a 45-degree shin angle, which then puts in a nice body position to launch into that acceleration phase. So the focus will really be less around technical elements and technical instructions, but more around looking at the shapes and positions we're trying to get into on that first step and then progressing further forward down there. An important consideration we're getting across to the athletes in the junior program is the idea of working through the gears. And this is going to be exactly the same for a track sprinter coming out the blocks as well. Basically, give yourself the opportunity and the time, so therefore patience, to actually work through the gears. Very often in team sports, we see people trying to launch straight into fifth gear, and we see that from their body position tells us that, but also launching to fifth gear is not a great idea. Think of it as working through the gears in a car. If you try and pull away in a fourth or fifth gear, you're just not going to go very far. If you try and work through the gears too quickly, you're either going to over rev, not get very fast, so you're not getting enough traction, or you're actually just going to stall. So those are two analogies we use with this idea of acceleration in team sports. Give yourself the opportunity to work through the gears, work through them as quickly as you can, but make sure you hit each gear to hit that top speed when you need it.